The G. Oh shit.
Yeah, that's me. Greetings and welcome to Office Hours with Dr. G. I'm your host, Dr. G, and I'm so glad that you could keep our appointment. Now, tonight's guest absolutely needs no introduction. Y'all know him, y'all love him, you hate him, whatever you feel about him. You know, he has his finger on the pulse of what's going on. He's been opening our eyes to so many things that we probably had not considered over the past few years that we have been following him. I'm talking about none other than Chief Pontiac, aka our brother Rod Hayes. And tonight we just gonna do a catch up. We just gonna talk about whatever's on my mind and his mind. If you're gonna respond and maybe your questions, but tell somebody that we're on. I want you to click like. I want you to share, and if you have not done so, subscribe to this channel because we've always got something on and popping right here on the official House of Reawakening Minds and Office Hours with Dr. G. So now, without further ado, I would like to introduce to some and present to others none other than our brother, Chief Pontiac. Welcome.
Yeah, that's me.
Hey, Dr. G.
How you doing?
Good to be back at the House of Reawakening Minds.
Good to have you. It's good to have you back. Look, I was freestyling because, I was like, I can't write a whole bunch about you. Folks know who you are. You know what I mean?
That was a great introduction. I don't need all that. No big eyes, no little U's.
Yeah, we all in this thing together, like your brother said, and we got to work together to make sure that whatever it is that's going to come next, that we in it, that it's for the benefit of our community. At least that's what we do. We're striving to get to the greater. And I know that you have been working diligently on your assignment from Big Mama ever since, you got that assignment. We some of the folks here, I'm pretty sure the people that are on here are probably folks that know you or know of you. So when they see Rod Hayes and Chief Pontiac, they're gonna come because they're not sure. They like they don't know what you're bringing. But there's so many things happening. But something you said to me before we went live is that you was ready for this ish to be over with.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sure probably we all are, you know what I mean? At some level, we all are. But until that point, until we get there, I just wanted to catch up with you. I was telling you, or trying to tell you before we got started, that it was a year ago. Now you came on in May of this year, but it was actually, I didn't realize it until I was creating the banner for this particular for this program, that we had been together on Tuesday, December 6, 2022. And now Tuesday, December 5th, 2023 is a year later, pretty much, you might as well say, because it's a Tuesday, but with the shift in the way those calendars work, we're the 5th instead of the 6th. So 1 year ago, we were talking about, getting the channel that we could do some things, and everybody responded and helped us get that channel. Payment is due again today, and folks have been reaching out and helping us, sending us donations to make sure, because it costs a little bit to keep that channel. But I vow for the next 12 months going forward, we're going to use this channel for all its work. We're going to go on. We're going to do a lot of things unfiltered. This is not an unfiltered one, but we're going to do things that that'll benefit us, and that we can pretty much be off the, I would say the mainstream channels, and we can still do and get done what we want to do. But today I am so excited that you agreed. You always agree though to come on unless you have something else planned. And I just want to know, and probably, you all in the audience, if you have questions that you have for Chief, please civilized questions, civil questions. Don't be asking questions like, not that they're not civil, but don't be asking how to do a process and all that stuff. We're not going to have those kinds of questions. But if you have some serious questions that'll benefit all of us by getting an answer from our brother, then please put them in the chat, and I'm going to do my best. And the reason why I can probably do more Q&As too today is because we didn't have like a strict agenda. We didn't have don't talk about XYZ. But we just want to try. We just want to chat. We just want to talk about, in general, where you see us, in terms of what has taken place over the last couple of months. And, we know we got to be careful of how we say certain things, but certain things have happened. And, I'm hearing other things, that, perhaps even what we've been told, a lot of what we're seeing is the movie. I don't know how you feel about it, but you see more things that look, I've seen videos of people who were reportedly under siege, but walking around their towns like it was like an everyday day, and wondering why they were being videotaped, because the news that we're getting over here is it's total this and it's total this, and these people are walking around like this is another beautiful day in the neighborhood, So what say you about what we're seeing, and why are we seeing what we're seeing now?
So the goal is to get many of the originals that's from the land to be aware of what we call the redemption process.
Okay.
At the close of the age, the rightful heirs, the family redeemer of the rightful heirs, settle all family business and return everything back to its rightful place. That's part of the Earth agenda. The Earth agenda is how would we organize civilization on Earth, right? Okay. So at the close of the age, during the process of the age, you let all of the lesser chiefs practice on being chiefs, right? And they have to figure out problems and bring solutions to the table. While this is going on, the guides are silent.
The guides?
The guide, okay, right. God. Now, in native culture, they don't call them guides. They call them thunderbirds.
Okay.
Right? The thunderbirds remain silent and allow the other chiefs to do the work of practice being a chief, governing the land and solving problems that affect the people on the land. Right? At the close of the age, now when the chiefs can't solve the problem, they call in the great Thunderbird chiefs, right? And the great Thunderbird chiefs are the ones who come in, assess the current social structure, how it's supposed to operate, comparative analysis to how it's actually operating. And from that perspective, you begin to address each one of the grievances of the collective, right? Because if you can, it'll allow individuals to be able to better solve individual problems. So in the problem solving agenda is part of the culture, right? So now we try to get the message, and you'll see a lot of the youth now are bringing receipts on TikTok, on Instagram, on Facebook, proving that we was already here.
Right. I'm hearing a lot. You see a lot of that.
Yep. So now, no longer can they deny the reality of who we are in our rightful position, in our rightful place as the caretakers of the land and the enforcers of the great law. Right? So when the people realize that the chieftains is taking over and restoring the matriarchy back. In other words, we're giving the women back their rightful possession, which is the land. The women are one with the land through the mitochondrial link, right? which is ties to the first contract of the Earth agenda, as Earth is a feminine planet. It's supposed to be ran according to a feminine structural dynamic. That don't mean that men are useless. That don't mean that men don't gonna have more or less responsibility. It means that according to your skill set, the best person for the job, the matriarchy is gonna appoint them to do the job.
Okay.
You don't care how big you is, how little you is, how old you is, how young you is. If you're the most qualified to do the job under the matriarchy, you become obligated to fulfill the function in order to make it work. Right? So we bringing attention and awareness to the structure and the impending change has got to happen. Now, we know that the National Mardi Gras I talked about is the 2025 celebration that Trump announced. And we know that the unveiling of the technologies that I talk about is going to be the World Fair in that same year. It's going to be in Iowa or Idaho. I can't remember which one. But the World Fair is going to unveil a lot of the secret technology that the nefarious governments have been withholding from the people, right? And we already established that all of the man-altered foods that's toxic to the human is no longer going to be acceptable. They can't do that no more. That means that now, instead of they chemical farms and greenhouses, you got to go back to the earth caretakers tilling the soil again and planting organic crops that doesn't have toxins in them, because there's 9 toxic means to cleanse the land and the crops as they grow, that you don't have to put poison in the ground. The matriarchy function, when we come to the council of sisters that'll be selected by the sisters, and that ain't got nothing to do with me, so I don't care who they be, because they're going to be the most qualified to fill the functions of office. But when we come to them with a scientific endeavor, they're going to ask 2 questions. The same 2 questions they're going to ask if we come with a political endeavor or a military endeavor. They want to know, how is it going to affect the earth and how is it going to affect the children during this next 7 generations of ushering in the gold age. Anything that's belligerent to either of the 2 is automatically vetoed. You can't do that. Under the patriarchy, it was about how much can you get out of it? How much funds can it produce?
Right. Now,
right?
I heard something. I mean to cut you wisdom, but I heard something just last night at just the tail end of a modern European making a statement about disclosure, for instance, and saying that I don't know who these leaders were. They went in the meeting, world leaders, to discuss whether or not they were going to disclose. I don't know whether it was technologies or so-called alien extraterrestrial life or whatever they were going to do. Half of them were for it and half of them were against it. So when they came out of the meeting, the decision was not to make the disclosure, not because of fear of how the people would take it, but how it would affect their economic situation, how their pockets basically would be, affected. So everything, it seems, that has been done against us and against the peoples of the world has been based on this, this need to be these economic hitmen, if you will. How is that, how is that going to change? I mean, is it, when we say things are collapsing, is it going to just implode on itself and one day we realize nobody's at the helm, or are we going to have to, or we meaning the people, going to have to, bum rush to whatever and say, hey, we the people, divided. We won't be united unless we come together. So will it be us or will it be them? And then we observe that hey, there's nobody minding the store.
So when the old regime fall, right, the old cycle ends. The new cycle can't come on board, and we can't close the old cycle until the new cycle is prepared. This is the continuity of government process. The transferring and the reorganizing, because we might not have the same boundary lines for states that we got now under the next regime. We know that the satanic Jews, the bankers, they had already divided it up into 13 regions, and they was going to ascribe that to the black nobility as part of their conquest. And each one of the children of so-called Jacob, which means supplanter, which is a verb, not a name. It's not a noun. It's a verb. It's a verb. Jacob is a verb. It's an action, and it means supplanter. Right? It's the act of undermining what's already there and organic there and replacing it with something foreign. When we talk about the Jews, they not Jews, they Jacobites. Right? They call themselves Moorish Zionist Jews when they come over here. Right? They look like us, but they ain't us. We call them dirty Moors. Right? Because these is the ones that the righteous Moors, the chiefs of the land, had to have the competition of intellect and erudition in order to break the conjure. The 200-year George Washington challenge is part of the morals and the dogma. They gonna follow the dogma because it's their nature. They're dogmatic by nature. Right? They embellish the falsehood in order to use it as a con game. And they use what we call regimentation in a monument to establish the appearance of validity. So they give each other uniforms. Because the police wear a uniform, the mailman wear one too. They authority figures. And in our community, the authority figure is when Big Mama yell off that porch, get your ass out the street, you move. That's the authority figure for us. But for them, it's the people that wear the uniform. Uniform mean one form, to take one formation, right? So they came and established their uniforms that's based on their paperwork, and the paperwork gives the appearance of legitimacy. So this takes us back in more science on the original structure that Noble Drew Ali had set up versus what it has become. Because when you get a good Moorish education, you understand he was annexing the tribes. All of them was welcome to join under Noble Drew Ali to get out of the jurisdiction of the fake courts, the levy and lien system of debt. Right? Because everything in their system is based on debt. That's because they working from a deficit, and the deficit is this ain't none of their land. Right? So since it's not their land, they can't utilize it for their selfish gain. But they can set up corporations and make us give it to them freely in the form of taxes and fees on contracts and the process in the contracts. It costs you this much to get a driver's license. You have to take this test, right? We used to just go across the land because we from the land. We never needed any authorization. We didn't need any slave papers to traverse the land. Now you need the slave papers. They just make them look legitimate by making them fancy and putting them on cards and calling them identification. That's slave documents. That's your pass to be a meritorious manumission servant of the state. That means that you accept a superior position over you as your slave master. But it's somebody that can pull rank on them, and that's the original people of the land, because we got something that the corporation cannot possibly assimilate, the blood. The corporation has no blood. It's a legal fiction.
Right.
And from the blood is derived the absolute right, what they call inalienable rights. That means they can't alter this.
Right.
So the non-treaty tribes forms the tribal confederation, but first the 5 civilized tribes have to exhaust their contract. So what Noble Drew Ali was doing was subtly annexing the tribesmen from the land. So you can be able to roam the land without being under admiralty jurisdiction. He was getting them from under their legal fiction. So he's telling them, we not contracting with you people. But somebody in the Moorish consulate know who it is in the background. The ones that's silent and they watching over the Moors. They know who made the deal behind Noble Drew Ali back that made us U.S. citizens in the Moorish Science Temple. Right? So now we got to find alternative means to continuously put the secrets out into the public domain and to reenact what they doing in silence out in the open without ever telling the other chiefs that's up and coming what they looking at, because you have to figure it out. You can't be on the land of the land and not understand the nature of your culture. And by reading the culture, you'll know that the time dictating the agenda, exactly what position to take in order to inform the most people of how do we get our shit back. Right? When in contract law, you can utilize what's known as the abandonment clause, right? When the fraud is discovered, the only remedy is to abandon the contract. When you don't abandon the contract, you become party to the fraud, aka a co-defendant.
Well, from a standpoint of most people that, there are so many more of us still asleep, don't know who they are, even from a standpoint of being Aboriginal, native to the land. So they don't know. And if the vast majority doesn't know or doesn't care to know or heard it and don't believe it, how do the few, if you will, those of us who are in the awakening process, and I say process because it every day it unfolds. How do we affect the change if the majority of us are still asleep or in darkness, ignorant to who they are?
Okay, so it goes back to the po-righteous teachers, the 5%ers. These are the ones who steer culture just by their presence. And they give you the seasoning by waking up the 5% po-righteous teachers. Those are the default leaders of the tribes. So when they become self-aware, they automatically know what part of the problem to address based on their skill set. Right? And we do a lot of stuff, oral traditions, and we pass messages on the drum by the drum and the voiceovers over the drum, which becomes your music industry of the day. So we able to talk and pass messages through music and theater because we can't say outright in the open what's going on the land, lest we be assassinated on the spot. Because that's what they was doing, and they was using murder to prevent any of the chiefs that become aware from exercising the blood and the right. They just didn't see me coming until it was too late. Because once you exercise the blood and the right, now it's too late. They have to give you your chance as pretender to the throne to prove who you is and if you who you say you are. Right? So exercising the blood and the right, knowing that on Mississippi clay dirt walking, everything I said with the receipts. to show them that I know exactly what I'm talking about, who did it, where they came from, how they got here, what their intentions was based on their actions.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Right.
So we in the Moors, the Moorish side of the family believe nationality is the order of the day because that's part of the structure that they gave us as the remedy of relief.
Mm-hmm.
Right? They gave us, the enemy gave us this remedy of relief. We are oral tradition people. The mama say, speak the law to the people and the people will obey. She didn't say sign a contract to be part of somebody's nation. Every ship on the high seas has a nationality. And a nationality is determined by the law of the flag. Your nationality, you can't be a national unless you first assume the position of a legal fiction. You have to be a vessel in distress at sea in order to be rescued under the Admiralty jurisdiction. When they do that, they annexing you from the sea and they logging you as a product, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is what the part of nationality that we don't understand. And when we was under the contract, we had to use the structure to try to free ourselves from the condition. And it didn't work for us. It's proven that. Now we had to go back to the oral tradition, which is the overriding authoritative utterance of the people of the land. Right? So now we have to take the nationality and tell the enemy to wipe his ass with it and take it back over to England where it belongs, because it's not from here. We are tribes and families of tribes. We got groups of different tribes based on our interaction with the peoples of the world. This has always been known as the Great Melting Pot since it was Atlantis. Because every time we had a genetic anomaly pop up, they have to come over here to get the original blood to take back home.
So wait, let's stop right there for a minute. So what you're saying, I mean, we're seeing an awful lot of mixing. It used to be a little less apparent, but it was then, about a year or two, couple years ago, we started seeing the push on TV. If you looked at TV, every commercial now was a blended family with, it was multiracial. It was, showing a lot of our women with their men and mostly, to me, that you're saying has been their attempts, because we've talked about it before. I mean, people have talked about it before. They need an infusion of us in order to maintain, is that like survival or existence? Or, I mean, there was a time when they were trying to bleach the color out of us, like you think about, say, Australia, when they were trying to, make the generations lighter and lighter. But it looks like now they're trying to darken and mix us in the opposite direction. But this, you're saying, it's for survival.
Yeah. So you got a control group of genetics on the planet that originate from the Americas. This control group are those natives from this land that have the O negative and the O positive blood. I don't normally talk about blood types, but this becomes necessary. When the women mitochondrial resonance is passed to a man, he become a representative of the feminine, because when his mother passed off, that's how you know he's a qualified man. His mother passes her hosting of his mitochondrial right to a female that she picked, right? But most of us don't know how to follow the culture. So this side never comes up because they gave us this fairy tale that's based off of a eugenics reverse psychology application. When you see them talking about the one drop doctrine, why is that even part of the discussion? What do it mean?
Well, it seems
Right?
to me that is power. It speaks to the power of what is in us. Because if it only takes one drop to,
But what does it do? What do that one drop do?
according to what they say,
Mm-hmm.
it disqualifies you from being, if you will, who they are, for one thing.
So they say if you got one drop of so-called Negro blood, you a Negro,
You're Negro, yeah,
right?
right.
So if you don't got no Negro blood, you something else.
That's true. What are we?
And if you on Earth and you finna go into the new age and you ain't got no Negro blood, you won't be here. Let's go back to, I didn't talk about this.
Will we call that so-called Negro blood? Because, we were just doing, Grand Sheik and I just did something on Friday.
Yeah, Negro. Okay,
Yeah,
so listen, Negro comes from the Greek negro, which is, according to Grimm's Law of Grammar, the G and the K is used interchangeably in translation. So the necros is the dead in the Greek language, right? So we talking about the land of the dead because they declared us presumed dead and lost at sea. The classification of from that in law, civilly mortis is black.
Right.
Right? The black is the defenders on the chessboard. When they say we black, they referring to the Black Panther clan, the Black Gorilla clan, the Black Eagle clan, the Black Hawk clan, which are tribal totems that's defenders of the land. The Black Bear clan, the Black Coon clan, those are what we call stealth priests. They live in the society and observe the people. They are called the Watchers. In order to determine what's affecting or ailing the society, you can't clean it up if you don't know what the problem is.
That is true. But when you say Watchers, you're not talking about the same Watchers that are described in the biblical narratives of the Watchers and Nephilim and all that. You're just talking about people are kind of incognito as to.
It's the same thing.
Okay.
What do Watchers do?
I mean, they
observe.
They watch and observe what's going on. Yeah.
Now, it got to be some kind of process of activation from a watcher to go from a watcher to a participant.
Right.
Right.
So what activates that?
It's a hierarchy. The chiefs at every level is given the problem first. And when they can't solve the problem, they give all of the pieces to the next set of chiefs to put the puzzle together. When they get their turn to work on the problem, right, they activate the next level of chiefs until you get to the top of, it's only a few of y'all that can figure this problem out. So now you call in on a higher chief. You call it on a Thunderbird chief. Right? Because you finally reached the end of the line. All of the chiefs have had a chance to resolve the matter. Right? And then they all use their skill set and they understanding of the problem. And we call it the attempt to live life. I'm just trying to live my life. Well, where's the book of how to live your life? You got to figure it out. Yeah. But there's a book because we all written in the book of life. But what we don't know is we not written in the book of life. We all came with a book of life to live out our life as eternal beings. We take on different parts and chapters of an eternal book. And when you get to the last page and you turn the page, you back to the beginning. Right? That's why they say from Alpha to Omega. And the Alpha is in the Omega. Right? So now you got to go from the top to the bottom, from the bottom to the top. Everybody having a chance. Now the problem is passed to somebody that see what everybody looking at and say, let me show you what you're looking at. So the black, when they was calling us black, they was telling us that we was on defense. And then when we look up free white persons in law, it said that they Moors. And they made specific.
Let me let you talk for a minute because I gotta go take another dose of my. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna put you on solo. Go ahead, talk to us.
Right. So what was I saying?
Let me see if I can help you real quick. What were you saying? Just say anything.
I was talking about I got brain lock. You threw me off, Dr. G. Yeah, I was talking about the Moors. Okay, two factions of people that look similar in phenotype, right, is in the Conjure War. The phenotype are the ones that's going to take the conflict to resolve the matter. Now, what ended up happening along the way is the people that were supposed to oversee the paleface was supposed to oversee this conflict, this Conjure War, where we educate ourselves out of the problem. Then they decided, because we was gonna all have amnesia at the same time, to go into business for themselves, right? So when you look at free white persons in law, it clearly say they're not Anglo-Saxons. It clearly say they're not Caucasians. And it clearly tell you that they more, so it's telling you that it's a position on the chessboard. The goal is to get you to accept yourself as a legal fiction and to participate in the fraudulent contract systems of filings of levies and liens by the form of paperwork. Then the chief's gonna come and give you something called husia, authoritative utterance and exceptional insight. And this is the process by which you use the oral tradition to break the contracts that was written in the blood of the ancestors. You tell the people what happened, and their awareness is the key to breaking the spell. So when you're looking at the so-called black, that's the defenders. Those are the ones that they call Negro and colored folks. Then you got white, which is the attackers on the chessboard. They the ones who made the first move, which took us to the Gullah Wars of Florida, where the Great War was taking place, that all of the tribes left a home front and traversed to the southeastern United States, which is actually up and to the left. But they got us thinking it's down and to the right in order to disorient us to apply the dogmatic scheme of slavery in the false designation of prisoners of war as slaves. Because the slaves that became slaves were Slavic peoples, and they became slaves because they was prisoners of war. Prisoners of war does not mean that you are a perpetual servant. It just means you got captured by the enemy. This is a chess game. It's not checkers. When them flying kings was actually the kings of the sea, right? And they landed on the queen's board called the chessboard. So now we got to go back to the chess rules and override the checker rules, right? And
when you say they, when you keep talking about contracts and we talk about that, what are we talking about? The contracts that so-called the United States corporation was supposed to perform as a service to the inhabitants of this land, the original inhabitants, as
The
opposed to
United States ain't never had nothing to do with the organic people of this land. It was a company holding of the Crown of England.
okay.
It don't got nothing to do with us.
Oh, okay. But what because I heard, and I may be wrong in what I'm trying to express, is that they were supposed to be servants performing a service, to the nation, to the country. So how I'm just wondering why we would agree to having foreigners come in and
We did.
Oh, okay.
We did. We are a occupied territory.
Okay.
Being held in reprisal for a wartime debt of the Crown of England. The United States, as a corporation, is an interim government until such time as the organic people of the land can restore tribal government. They was using that corporation to enforce the George Washington Challenge. This is what they say George Washington chopped down the cherry tree.
That had to do with the Moors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the company that owns the United States Corporation is a merger of three different companies. First, the Northwest Trading Company merged with the Virginia Company. Okay. They was going back and forth with goods from trade to England. And in the process, the Royal Moroccan Company, which was another salvage company out of England, was issued a charter to do the same thing that the merged Northwest Trading Company, Virginia Trading Company, was doing. They was robbing them in the Atlantic as piracy on the high seas. They called what's called the Paris Accord in order to draw up a ceasefire between these two corporations. Right? Now, the first one was already two corporations merged. So they merged with the Royal Moroccan Company and became known as the United States Inc. in the establishment of the document known as the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. So at this point, they come back over here. They got contracts with 5 civilized tribes, but they was never supposed to cross the Appalachians. As an act of war, when the French was ousted out of Haiti, and after the bloody run of Chief Pontiac at Fort Detroit at River Rouge, then this is why France had to leave the land. They lost 2 out of 3 conflicts. When they leave, they got to tell us or give us clues as to what's taking place. So they did 2 things. They sent us the Statue of Liberty, which is a drag queen. And they erected the Eiffel Tower, which is a homonym for Eiffel. The Eiffel Tower is erected in Parthenon of Isis, called Paris, and Parthenon of Isis mean the city of Isis. And the drag queen is the imposter who's lived under the Vatican. That's actually a seahorse. They got reverse genetics from the human.
Wait a minute. So you said there is a seahorse living under the Vatican.
We call it a seahorse. It's actually called the Great Archon.
And is it a part?
It looked male, but it's female.
Okay. And it's alive.
No, not no more.
Okay.
Not since 2020.
Oh, okay. What happened in 2020?
She got beheaded.
Okay.
With a soul splitter. That consciousness will never reincarnate as that consciousness ever again.
Okay. So up until 2020, this being was living under the Vatican, is what you're saying?
literally.
Literally. And controlling what from there?
Earth.
Oh, controlling Earth. So would
This is
that
why
be
the Pope had. This is why the Pope has so much power.
okay?
The Pope is the one who gave the crown of England their authority. It's a continuation of the unholy Roman Empire. The
Yeah, I
Roman
heard.
Empire was established to usurp the temples of Isis or the great priestesses of Mamiwata.
Mm,
The Catholic Church was the replacement of the patriarchs to undermine the rightful heirs to earth. As long as we continue to follow their narrative, we can never put everything back the way it's supposed to be. Their narrative, they Christianity, Judaism, and Islam was used as weapons against us,
mhm.
right? When you go back to find out that Islam originally was a matriarchal religion and they turned a Latin to a lie, called a gender swap. It's called the emasculation of the divine feminine.
So why is there so much of that? I know we got to dance around the subject a
Because
little bit. You just
the
said
people that we
why?
at war with, don't believe in matriarchy. They believe in patriarchal dictatorships.
Okay.
So it's belligerent to us because we believe in the matriarchy. They say that we was ants, and it's why we call our aunt, because it's a play on words for ant. Because they say we rally around our big mama like a bunch of goddamn ants. Because with Big Mama said, defend the house, we was gonna blow this bitch up. Defending it. If Big Mama say you can't have it, then if we can't have it and she said you can't have it, ain't nobody gonna get it because you're not taking it. So it's always a remedy. The remedy for the tribes is always to revert back to the great law. The great law precedes all of their paperwork. The great law was given orally by the chieftains of the land to tell the people the who, what, when, where, why, and how of anything they ask. This is why you know the frauds from the ones that's real, because the frauds, you can't ask them no questions. And if they tell you something, you got to pay for it. When you come into the real ones, we accept donations. Well, I don't give a damn if you don't give me nothing. You can ask me a question. I'm still going to tell you the truth because that's just who I am. I'm just being me telling you the truth. Right? I don't mean that you got to agree with me.
True.
And it don't mean I got to like it because it's true. I don't like talking about no spaceships. But I got to talk about them because they about to see something.
Well, they've been seeing. I've been seeing some things on the, I guess you said TikTok and so forth, and people catching what looks like something trying to hit up in the atmosphere and crack through things that it can't get through. And you've seen. I don't know if you've seen those.
Look, every time you see that, they are shooting a missile at the Dark Knight satellite. The hologram is designed where the ones in the simulator cannot destroy the projection system. It's like putting a virus protection on your computer.
Mm-hmm.
Anytime the hologram know in all of its 4-bit quantum encryption that if you try to destroy it, it'll automatically destroy what you sent because it knew you was thinking. Because it's only in the operation of the mind. They got something called Operation Fishbowl. And they were shooting these missiles at the Dark Knight satellite, but the flat earthers think they were shooting at the dome. The only reason why we perceive an Earth in all of these different formats is because of the holographic projection system.
You mean that's being projected in different formats, or
yeah? Because when you come to the close of the age, the perception of the seers, the watchers, had to be from different perspectives in order to draw a foundational understanding of reality. If there is no flat earthers and there is no round earthers and there is no hollow earthers, paradigms are not being challenged. That means that people are blindly following something.
Mhm.
I don't care which one it is, as long as we restore the matriarchy. Because I know at that point, we living in heaven on earth.
Well, which brings me to a question here. This question's popped up a couple times. Let's pull up here. Somebody asked, has Rod seen the Outer Ring worlds and the Nazcan Funda map? And what's his take on extra lands and the other beings living in these lands? And do we have something to do with these lands?
Look, that is the flat earth model. I'm not a flat earther. Right? That's because I'm looking at it as a particle and not a wave. If I was looking at it as a wave, I'd see the flat earth too. Right? And this is going back to what I was talking about, the perception and the challenging of a paradigm. Right? And you can't have a foregone conclusion to something and it ain't been tested and expect everybody to accept it as a fact. So remember, this is the same argument when Columbus came that they were supposedly having in Europe.
Right, the world was flat.
And that he was going to sail off and fall off the end of the earth.
Right.
And he brought his ass right here. The same thing you've seen going into a cycle, you also have to see that same thing coming out of the cycle using the mirror effect. Same but different. Right? We know that that was a contention because it's written in all of the fake history books.
Right.
So we know.
But yeah, that's the thing. Since history's fake, that kind of has, leads to some questioning of the validity of even the so-called, the circumstances. If Columbus didn't exist, or Columba, or whoever he was, if he didn't really exist, then even the things that have been written about what he thought or what he did, those two are suspect.
At this point, anything that's in the history is not in what we call current reality. It's already over with. That's you have to read anything historically as an energy signature. The secret societies know this, but the regular people don't.
Mm-hmm.
So this is how they able to stay so many steps ahead of us. You don't read history as being factual, even if it's an actual historical event. Right? You read it as energy that's telling a story in order for you to see further in the future than you can see into the past. You're using the past as the mirror to the future. You break cycles by looking for repeat patterns, right? Mm-hmm. And these repeat pattern interruptions is what changes the overall paradigm that allow people to see stuff they normally couldn't see. And this go back to flat earth, round earth, challenging of a paradigm. Mm-hmm. You have to challenge it in order to know the validity of it. If you just accept it and you haven't put up a value and challenge to it, then you just a blind follower, you stuck to the right. But if you know that it's a trap and you teaching other people, you stuck to the left. You doing what's wrong intentionally. Mm-hmm. Right? And the dogma is to get you stuck either left or right. As long as you stuck to one side, then somebody gonna win. And somebody gonna lose. But the straight bump gonna always come out on top. The one that didn't take sides and they just produced the facts. That's how the bird fly.
I mean, there's a lot of things we've seen and been lied to about with regard to, say, space travel and so forth. And I think one of the biggest things has been that, we went to the moon, whether it exists or not. The things that they've kind of proven is that those accounts, those pictures and so forth were somehow, manufactured and not very well. We did something allegedly, 50 plus years ago that we can't do now. doesn't make sense. It doesn't mean, that we
I,
didn't
I
have
don't think
more.
it's I don't think it's that we can't do it now.
No, that's what they said. They haven't been able to, but the have we ever actually done it anyway is the question. Not can they do
Oh,
it again?
well, all of those astronauts didn't admit that was a stage show.
Right. So there we know that things have been hidden from us, and we've been deceived, and we also know that Hollywood and the government have been like I say strange bedfellows for probably that's what created that was to be able to put the visual because they know the power of seeing and even the hearing because you had the War of the Worlds on the radio, so hearing things got people wanting to commit suicide because they thought it was at the end of the world. So let alone now you give a visual, because you're starting to stimulate the various senses in us. We got the more senses are stimulated, the more you crystallize the thinking in the people that are being targeted. You have that's what they do. You gotta see it.
We call that social engineering, Dr. G. And I've been telling people the whole time that they've been socially engineering us by controlling 9 areas of people activity plus 1.
What are those areas?
Economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, war, and health.
Oh wow, okay.
They've been using the poisoning process to shorten our lifespan so we never wake up to the reality of we being deceived.
Mm-hmm.
As long as we are willfully deceived, they're going to continuously be in control. As soon as we break free from the deception, that means the false narrative, we can see the truth clearly. And the more of us to get the word to the most people, right? It's a relay race. Each one teach one. We all gonna reach some, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so we give them the research information, right? And that's why I produce so many receipts. Because some of the stuff that I be saying when I first ran across it sounded totally impossible to me. Right?
Yeah.
Like I couldn't understand why we just didn't run these motherfuckers off the land. But when I got to studying and found out that it was part of a ceasefire agreement to stop genocide, and it was the natural evolution of war. We in what's called the 5th phase of war, which takes it from the realm of the physical into the spiritual. That means you got to fight it with priests, warlocks, witches, sorcerers. It's no longer fought with soldiers on the battlefield. And this is why in the epistles of Paul, it say we fight not against flesh and blood, but principalities in high places.
Yeah, powers of spiritual witness.
That's because the ones who know how to use the powers in the high places are the sorcerers, the mystics. And these are the ones that's being signed up to fight in these wars. Right? This like Civil War time, it's known that conjures was being used on both sides of the war. Well, you got to know who was fighting in order to know who using the conjures.
Mm-hmm.
Once you figure that out, then you know that all of the secret societies is in on it. Once you figure that out, all of the secret societies is in on it, and all of the people that control media is in a secret society. Right? So you got 2 things going on at the same time. You got the ones with no contracts, we call them outlaw tribes, non-treaty tribes. And then you got those that's operating with the contract, those called civilized tribes. Right? Because somebody
legit, I mean, because you always talk about the $5 Indians that signed treaties and wasn't us.
Mm-hmm. So the civilized tribes, when you see the term civilized in front of tribes, I mean that they was willing to work with the settlers in some form or fashion. They was willing to go into business contract with them. But the reality of it is they use $5 Indians to sign a lot of the contracts that they call treaties.
Right.
So for the non-treaty tribes, they won't even honor that shit. But the ones that name was used, some of them did participate in the treaties once they tribe was put on land with a false chief, with a chief made chief by the president. The president can't make you no chief.
That's true.
So Andrew Jackson is appointing chiefs to do negotiations on behalf of the 5 civilized tribes. That's part of the trade out in the Trail of Tears. It's actually called the Trail of Tears and Death, because this is when they switched us out. They killed us off with a paper genocide. They didn't kill us off literally. They killed us off on paper by using their servants from their wars with Mongols, Huns, and Vedics to create a whole new subset of so-called American that they use Indian schools to teach how to pretend to be us. Using sweetheart swindles to marry into the families in order to get contracts levied on the land. We didn't believe in that. So they took Big Mama house, scratch her name off, called it the big house, and tell the people in the family they on the plantation.
I always thought that a lot of those, pictures that we would, they would propagate around with the so-called, and you see all of the so-called slaves, all in front of the house and everything. I said, that's just a family picture. And they didn't put it in and call them slaves. I said, but those are people that lived probably there with, how we lived communally, more than we lived in, different, like we do now. We're all over the place, but it was communal. Like they look like the folks they posed in front of their house. You know what I mean? They were just, now they call them the slaves necessarily. These were, I think we've been deceived on multiple levels, and that's one of them too. We look right at, yeah.
We talk about the Gullah Wars. That's us telling the story. When the enemy tell the story, they Seminole Wars. In the Gullah Wars, the Mississippians came to aid and render assistance to the tribes in Florida because it was a Gullah Geechee Big Mama in South Carolina that called us all to go fight in Florida at the Seminole Wars or the Gullah Wars. And so when they were seeing the Mississippians, they was calling us runaway slaves. We weren't no runaway slaves. We was migrant soldiers, families coming to defend the land. It's just that we married into different tribes on the coasts. We was trading with Africa long before Columbus came. We was trading with Asia long before Columbus came, before Cortez, before Pizarro. We was already dealing with those people. But they said that we didn't exist and they was going to sail off the world because it was flat.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said he found a new world. Remember? When we talk about the New World Order was what they call the American way. We've been in the New World Order the whole time since motherfucking 1776. And America financed the Russian Revolution that they call the Bolshevik Revolution and financed Russia throughout the whole Cold War. But we don't have the wherewithal to just go and see who was the number one benefactors to Russia during the whole time. It was the United States Socialist Republic, USSR.
But you also, like when we talked about NASA and all of the scientists that came over here, it would appear to one, if you think about it, that perhaps we being they, the United States did not win the war against Russia, but they quietly allowed Russia to amalgamate or assimilate here who really was the victim.
That was Germany. World War II Operation Paperclip was Germany.
Germany, yeah, with Germany. I'm sorry, stand corrected. But yeah, with that. But it would seem though that Germany had won and instead of the U.S. because
They did.
Okay, so we were under occupation also by Germany, right?
Well, what they did, they didn't. We was already under occupation from 1776 and the establishment of the colonies as a government called the United States of America. We was colonized then. We was already annexed as a property in wartime, what they call the booty of war.
So would that be like the manumission? Like you thought you were, we passed from one hand to another.
Yeah, that's what Emancipation Proclamation means.
Okay.
To inform, proclamation means to say something out to the public. Emancipation means to transfer property from one form of ownership to another. We went from being the property or from being POW under privateers to being occupied territory, and everybody is a POW now. And those who are working jobs have work passes. That's what your application is. You applying for a work pass in order to generate finance in the form of a fiat, which is a credit. It's a token in prison. That's all it is. So now the inmates, the ones who was occupied, the ones who was already here, have to exile the warden and his hosts. Or they had to take over the penitentiary, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And you're not gonna do it with guns. You have to do it with intellect. You got to outsmart the enemy.
Right.
Right. So now what we doing? We using our brains because all of the gang leaders say we ain't gang banging no more. We brain banging now.
But you know
because they all got the message.
But we're using their technology, so we got to get back to.
You can't get away from it.
Well,
you can't get. Their technology is stolen from us to begin with.
Absolutely, but I'm saying even when we talk about using our brains, I'm talking about telepathically and being able to communicate on that higher level so that we don't have to do stuff like this, where you have to say, I can't say that or can't say that. Oh, you might say it, but then you have to deal with the consequences of not being able to be honest and truthful, because nobody's trying to say anything that's not true. Nobody's trying to look for sensationalism just to say outrageous stuff. But it seems like, like you say, the truth is more stranger than the fiction that they put out here. And when you try to share that, then you become, penalized, if you will, because they're controlling it.
Right. If they're not controlling the narrative, they're gonna lose. They're gonna be a loser. Look, if you're gonna conquer people, you won't control as much as possible to prevent them from ever taking back their personal power. So they create these isms of separation. It's social engineering at its finest. A good reference book for people that want to understand how it works is a book called The Crowd by Gustave Le Bon. He was a premier socialist at the turn of the 1900s, right? And in there, he talks about how by controlling key figures in the crowd, you can make the crowd go wherever you want to. And it's all about social engineering. Who can get the most people to follow a narrative? If you can get them to follow a false narrative, then you can keep them away from the truth. How do you keep them away from the truth? But you give them a false narrative, and then you put a barrier of fear around the truth.
Right. So we even have to be careful even in terms of trying to spread these truths, that we not propagate fear and actually be working, if you will, counterproductive to what we're trying to do, making sure that folks don't get so fearful, because then they have to deal with the fact that they don't want to move forward. They're afraid to do anything for fear of what might happen as a result of them exercising, their inalienable rights. So,
well, look, we already in that condition. It's called learned helplessness, right? Our people beat down so bad that right now, for our most critical parts of the job, we got to use $5 Indians on our behalf as ceremonial tribes to be our catch paw to go do our dirty work. Because most of our people, when they get the information, they don't believe in themselves. They don't believe in a superior jurisdiction and how to apply it. So we had to use the guests on the land to get the imposters off the land, because our people was been through so much, they shell shocked, and you can't blame them, right? And so being shell shocked, we use turnabout being fair play as the maxim of law that gives us the right to use the same thing they use to conquer us to liberate us. And that's why you got to see the same stuff going out that you've seen coming in. So we use the same, they use unfriendly pale faces to get us in this condition. We use friendly pale faces to get us out.
We use them, or are they just coming to the forefront because they realize that they under the bus too?
They ain't got no choice. If they're gonna be part of the perpetual future of the golden age, they're gonna have to help us, or they won't be part of it. It's that simple. We gonna win. You gonna either be part of the winning team or you gonna choose the losing team. We ain't gonna never lose because we always got a remedy. All we gotta do is listen to Big Mama and she'll tell us what to do next. That go on an individual level. That don't just go for me talking out in the public and people hear me and say, Big Mama said. No, you go talk to Big Mama in your heart. And she gonna come across, gonna sound like your mama or your favorite auntie or your grandmama. And sometimes if they in tune, it'll come directly through your mama, your grandmama, or your auntie. And sometimes it comes through the mouth of the little girls, the little babies.
Mm-hmm.
But you just got, if you perceptive to the words of wisdom, you know when Big Mama talking, no matter who she using as the vessel.
True. Well, somebody just told me my mic was low and muffled. I'm not sure, y'all, what's going on because I haven't done anything to it, but we'll see. Hopefully y'all can hear me. Yeah, so we want to move forward. We need to move forward. We hear a lot about these different agendas, 2025, 2030. What are we looking at? And you smiling. So
I just went over this last night. I just had the same exact question. What about the agenda 2023 and 2030? The only agenda that's of any importance right now is the matriarchal agenda. Any other agenda, if it don't work with the matriarchal agenda, will be canceled. You got to work with the matriarchal agenda or it's just going to be canceled. They're not going to do it. It's going to be foiled. They rug going to be snatched from under them.
What is our galactic galactic family or plan? What are they doing in terms of preparing to make their appearances? If you're aware of anything,
all they doing is reading the energy signature of the planet, and the people as a collective is going to change the auric field of the earth. When we ready, it'll show in the earth's auric field. The earth is a torsion field,
right?
Just like the human body.
Yeah.
Just like your mood ring change with your mood. Your aura change according to your development. The Earth's auric field will change according to the people's preparedness for the next wave. And anybody that ain't from Earth is reading the auric field of preparedness of the people. So I don't really care what they doing. I care what we doing.
But you know what makes me think, like all of these gloom and doom movies that have been coming down over the years, Mad Max, Thunderdome, all of these crazy, doom.
Post-apocalyptic. That's what it's called. Post-apocalyptic.
Yeah, post-apocalyptic films that they've been shoving down our throats for so many years has been to try to get us to have fear and to manifest what we've seen in these kinds of things based on this is what must have happened, that precipitated in the movie, like you said, Dune or Mad Max, Thunderdome. We have to get away from allowing ourselves, I hope you agree, to be a party to creating a reality that they have set the agenda for, that they've written the script for, put it out there for our, because we're able to manifest what we
Right.
focus on.
Well, but see, this is where our biggest problem with manifestation come in is we don't want to follow the steps. We want to skip steps. And then when it doesn't manifest like it's supposed to or should, we get angry and think that it don't work. Right. But if you follow the steps, now it's rules. The rules are not to tell you what to do, it's to tell you how to get what you're trying to get. Right. So one thing is the size of the manifestation determines the length of the turnaround time. The turnaround time is from the time you send a message into the universe and the universe responds with the three-dimensional expression of what you put out there. Right? You train yourself and you calculate your turnaround time based on small things that you can perceive. Right? Example, this is not literal, this is just an example of what I mean. If you want to get specific, I'm going to manifest a $5 bill and it's going to have my initials RH in the serial number in order to know that the universe sent it. So now you let go, let God, as they say. In other words, you let go, you allow the universe to do its job. And when the universe answers you, that's your turnaround time.
I'll give you an example that just happened. So not that deep, but I had ordered something several months ago and I realized yesterday, it just crossed my mind that it had never arrived. And this, a few months back. And I was like, I gotta go back and look at my screenshot so I can even remember who I ordered it from. And that's just what I thought yesterday. It showed up in the mail yesterday. After I thought, wait a minute, this thing never arrived. And it was a few months back. But the day that I remembered that it should have been here, it arrived. And that's happened to me a couple of times with stuff. And I say, wait a minute, such and such, it may not always be the day, maybe the next day, but this time it was the same day. And I'm thinking, had I not thought about it, would it have really arrived? You know what I mean?
Albert Einstein called that phenomenon spooky action at a distance.
Oh, was that what it is?
Later on, it became known as the observer effect. The observer effect, where your attention goes, energy flows. Once you forgot the book, it didn't exist no more until you remembered it. And now that's what they call collapses the wave into the particle.
So that's what that means. Okay, because I've heard them talking about, that, but not necessarily, understanding the process that was going. But yeah, I just went, okay, wait a minute. And then it was within an hour or two when the mail came, I think, there it was in the box. And like I said, wait a minute, I never got that thing I ordered a couple months ago. So it showed up, but which is important. I'm glad that there is a scientific basis for that because, we need to, there's so many people struggling with so many things that perhaps could be, overcome or done away with if they would focus, their manifestation, understanding how the process works. You know what I mean? And some things I think are a matter of, as you said earlier, almost like set it and forget it, put it out there. Don't stress over it and know that it's going to happen. So when it happens, you may have to look at how long it took, but the fact that it happened is the most important thing, is a manifestation.
So we use birthday parties as gratitude training systems.
What do you mean by that?
You use the birthday gift, right, for the child to remember what it feel like to have gratitude. The joy of receiving gifts on your birthday is the training tool. If you know what you're doing, you can explain it to the child. And the energy of gratitude, always keep your energy channels freely flowing to receive abundance and to be allowed to bless others. Sometimes your blessing come in the form of words of wisdom. And sometimes it comes as the need of the individual. You just so happen to have what they need at the right time. Right? Now, some of us, when we don't have that energy of gratitude, that spirit of gratitude and reciprocity, we block our blessing because I ain't figured that motherfucker shit. Right? I work my fingers to bone for everything I earn. That motherfucker ain't doing nothing but sitting there. You never know, the universe might have you giving them something for a reason that's to benefit you, because your energy have to flow.
Right.
And the universe is going to knock to tell you where your energy blocked by telling you to get rid of something.
Yeah, you're right about
and
that.
it might come across as another person's need that you are in a condition to meet. Right? So instead of feeling some way about it, pay it forward and keep it moving. You don't ever take it personal. Stay in the continuous energy of reciprocity. And you become an open vessel for greater blessings because you increase in it. Every time you let it go, it comes back tenfold. But
Yeah.
you can't do it with an agenda.
Yeah, that's there.
You just got to do it in the flow.
It's got, and yeah, it's got to be. I get it. I get it. And because a lot of times, like I said, even in my today, I had a sister that organizer come and pay me a visit, give me an appointment, and we're going to start working together to downsize my life and feng shui it. And what we realized, she just really kind of met me, and she realized that, I had a problem, and my problem is acquiring things, and lots of things, and things that I don't use, and things that probably other people could use, and to the point where it was making me feel like smothered. I'm like, I'm holding on to stuff for another time that won't come because I'm holding on to it, and it happens. That's how you know what I mean.
Okay, so this in a spiritual sense, when you called her, you was preparing for a spiritual breakthrough that's going to come in the form of the releasing of a lot of things that you held on to in the physical. What you holding on to physically was the mirror to what you was holding on to spiritually that didn't have nothing to do with you. Other people's burdens that you carry.
Yeah, and we all do it. I think we all do it to a certain extent. But it's like an addict coming to the the conclusion that I'm an addict. I mean, it may not be drugs and it may not be alcohol, but if it's shopping, or it's an addiction. If it's eating, it's an addiction. If it's whatever those things. But when you realize it, can anybody tell you anything about changing your life? I mean, they could tell you, but until you hear it in your own head and tell your own self, this has got to stop.
That's called getting into your shadow work.
There you go.
Yeah, but it's also giving you a tool that once you learn how to read it, you will be able to adjust your spiritual healing accordingly.
Yeah.
See, you hold on to other people's burdens in order because the strongest ones can handle the most.
Yeah.
So you become a beast of burden in a spiritual sense. You're carrying other people's burdens, but you just giving them the opportunity to travel without that burden because Dr. G got me.
I told somebody this the other day, speaking to a brother and sister who are outside of the U.S., and I said, look, I'm an empath. And I said, I get lots of calls every day, all during the week. A lot of times people are trying to get in touch with Grand Chic. Some of them want to talk to me, but a lot of them, whatever. And I said, when you tell me of your troubles and your tribulations, I said, you might feel better. I said, but now I got it. And I not only do I have yours, but I have the other 10 people that called me before you did. And there's the two. I said, so I'm trying very hard to put a shield up so that I can hear what you guys are saying, but I can't always take the calls and take the burdens because I know the weight of it, the if you will, the emotional weight of holding other people's stuff.
Okay, now this goes with learning, right? This is how you using the physical accumulation of things to show you what you're doing spiritually.
Right.
Your learning. And so you reading your book of life. You get to the end of the chapter, and the chapter gave you an instruction. It said, okay, now feng shui.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, cleanliness is next to godliness. When the matriarch is getting ready for something big, she starts nesting. Spiritually, that's what's going on. In the physical world, you decided that you was going to do feng shui, and you discovered that you was holding on to a lot of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Spiritually, that means that you realize that while you taking all of these back-to-back calls, that you taking on a whole lot of shit.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Now, what do? You adjust to remedy the problem because your spiritual self gave you the clear observation of what you faced with. It gave it to you in a figurative form by telling you to do the feng shui. You could see it in the physical environment, right? Which was by comparative analysis to your spiritual self. The phone's constant answering of other people's complaints or vexed grievances that you take on, you didn't reach your capacity. Now you have to adjust according to what the spirit just showed you. That means that you it's time for Dr. G to get a secretary, an apprentice. And it's time for Dr. G to start protecting her energy so she can lead better by cashing in all of the receipts that she called clutter, which in the spiritual sense is freeing everybody from the burdens they gave you by giving them up yourself.
Right.
You've learned from them, they've served your purpose, and now you can move on. When you move on, by default, you absolutely have to move up. By you enduring the suffering and the struggle and the struggle that you endured was the fires of the training that was molding you into what you need to be. Women are ready. It was wartime.
Right.
By the way, how did that go? Tell me about
it. Well, we had an excellent initial meeting. It was a small meeting, but it was a powerful meeting at Atlanta, Georgia. Actually, I guess you would call it like East Point is in Atlanta. And sisters came from as far as Khalifa territory and Ohio territory and North Carolina, Georgia, and different. So me, I came in from Delaware to go, and was there, and it was we're getting ready to have a follow-up meeting. We're just doing some forms that we wanted to have available for them to approve before we have the meeting with the larger group of over 400 sisters now. So I personally don't want it. Mama Callie Sitchin and myself hosted the meeting, but neither one of us is looking to be we don't want to be the head of anything. We want to be part of it, but we just want it to find its own leadership, and some leaders are emerging already, even in the small initial meeting that we had. But this was a year ago, last year, if you will, when we were together on December 6, 2022, just like this, that you had given me, and were again reiterating that charge. So it took a while. I've been collecting, but like I was like you said, somebody I was like, I'm overwhelmed with all these addresses. I mean, all these email addresses and names and stuff, and I gotta figure out how to. We need a database, and we need a we need, and so it was that kind of like feeling of overwhelming. Rise that Big Mama told him to tell me that I need to do something, but it's not just me; it's other. There's other. I know that there are other women that are doing. So we all have eventually have got to bring our whoever our groups of women are together, because again, at the end of the day, it is about unity. It's not like this group over that group, but it's all the groups, like the sister up at the New York territory that does the glow ups and the different things that are happening in the different tribal. We met sisters from that are actually in various tribes that came. A couple of sisters that are part of the tribe, and I think in the Mississippi, North Carolina, they're part of a tribe. So it was a really beautiful beginning, and I was glad that we were able to do it before this year was so-called year was out. So looking forward to moving forward, working with the sisters. The sisters are still sending in their email addresses, and brothers, I want to say this, brothers, the war is for women. I get, get brothers, they hear about the war, they want to get in and they don't realize it means the women are ready. That's what the war stands for. And we'll get to you all, who perhaps, somebody will start a group with the brothers, but for right now, the war is just for sisters. For us to come and get ourselves together so that we can, we called this one reclaiming ourselves, because we figured that we felt that we had to know who we were. We need to get to a place where we again love who we are, and then we can love each other, and then we can spread that love to protect our families, our children, our mates. But if we don't love, first it starts with self. I know you say hurt people. So we need to be healed people. Heal people.
That's what I was referring the sisters to the goddess glow up, and I'm gonna keep doing it because the healing of the women. Every time a woman is healed, that's a whole nation healed.
Mm-hmm.
Each one, teach one is contagious.
Absolutely.
Heal. When you heal yourself, you want to see other people be healed out of the gratitude of healing yourself. Oh, if it worked for me, I got to show my sister, my brother what to do.
Yeah, and we're going to have another, I think the next meeting, just from a standpoint of see how many you sign up to come, we will literally do it at the House of Real Awakening Minds. And, and somebody said that, you went down there and did that one. We have just as much space here, at the House of Real Awakening Minds. And we certainly are going to try. We have an event coming up in April, which is our spring into action. But maybe even before that, put it out there, and the sisters that can come. And at our place, we can do what we want. We need to lay on the floor and cry and hug each other there, and we can do it there because it's we're not on a time clock. We won't be on any of those stuff. And healing ourselves is our first step. Like I said, it's all right. They say when the cabin pressure drops in the airplane, you got to put the mask on you first. Mm-hmm. And the cabin pressure has dropped, for us, and we have to do that. We have to heal ourselves. We just can't, go out there like, we're these, we got it all together, and we don't even like ourselves, so we can't even, we don't love ourselves, and we don't like each other.
The reason we don't like each other because we don't love ourselves. That make us internally bitter. And by us being internally bitter, that make us repulsive to people around us. Right. Don't nobody want to be around those sour puss ass motherfuckers. Don't nobody mind being around the calm, loving, caring. Don't nobody want to be around no chaotic individual. Because they don't love themselves, they always trying to make somebody else suffer.
Well, we realize that we all have different personalities. But one of the things that like Mother Kai and I, we were just speaking in the last day or so. But when you have people like that are numerologists and people who do those various things that they're able, astrologers, you can begin to put when you understand or understand or overstand what a person's makeup is, what their personality is, you're not going to put unreasonable expectations on them. You're not going to think or force them into being you, because now you understand who they are. And I think because we don't know those things, because we used to know cosmologically and astrologically and numerologically who we were, and you deal with people accordingly. So we have to get back to that level of
that was the usurpation of the priesthood, because all tribes had a family priest, right, or a family witch doctor, or a medicine man, or a family healer, whatever you want to call them. He was one in every family. We didn't have General Hospital, Henry Ford Hospital. We didn't have that.
Right.
We had doula centers, and the doula centers served as daycare in elementary school as well, right? Because the doulas assisted mothers in personality understanding of their child. Children with this personality thrive best in this type of environment under these conditions, right? So the mother and the doulas know what part of the daycare center would this child thrive at. So all of it had to be together, right? And you wanted the children, by the time they get out of the elementary, they speed read. But they not doing that to us. They slowing us down using look-see and eradicating phonetics in order to confuse the mind of the children. It's to enforce arrested development so that they can maintain their system of power and control. Education is the second people activity that they controlling. Shout out to Dr. Neely Fuller, because he the one told me that if I don't look at it like it was a penitentiary, I'll never figure it out.
Yeah, you're right. So those things we've lost, and those things we need to get back to. Those are the as far as the education versus erudition. We thought we wanted to get an education, and all we're doing is being put through systems. My spiritual daughter is trying to do some things by going into the school system, and where they will let her or getting young people together to speak to them about what are you going to do after the 12th grade. Is college necessary? Is that a necessity for success? And she's an example that it isn't. So, are you going to go from being in that environment of having your mind in a cage to now spending $50,000 to get a degree of which you have so much more in you? All it needs to be is brought out. And that's what our young people need to go back to: entrepreneurship over consumerism. See, I learned how to be a consumer, but I am an entrepreneur. But I want to be more of an entrepreneur and a humanitarian than I want to be a consumer. You see what I mean? But we get taught those things. You pick up your phone and it's listening to you. And the thing you were talking about is that was popping up on your phone, and 15 different places to buy something that'll fix it or make it or whatever. And we got to learn that these are the traps and the tricks that have kept us and are keeping us mentally enslaved, financially enslaved.
Right. So after elementary school, what would be the middle school years? This is when you send them to learn the arts. You send them to theatrical school, where they go there, they learn sports and the arts. Because they already, if they speed reading by the time they get out of elementary school, they now they have to flourish the spirit so they can find out what they want to do with themselves, so you can even know how to teach them in high school ages what to learn. We call it the ROPE program, or Rites of Passage Education Program, right? But they haven't been instituted yet because we had to kill the old system first, right?
But they used to have things like that. They used to have vocational training.
Right, but so you got the formative transitional phase of junior high for the child to determine what he wants to study in high school. But by the time it's like the children in Japan, our seniors in high school getting that in like 6th grade. Right. So our children gonna be way more advanced because the only reason they not is because they've been giving them arrested development content. So now you got adult 6-year-olds. They psychologically 6 years old. That means they're gonna be a good controllable slave. But if you raise their mentality to an adult, to the age current that they are, so they can see life for what it is, and they'll protect the inner child with the adult that they become.
And how do we do that in terms of, do you think we need to have community programs that we need to set up in our various communities so our children, even though they still may have to go to their schools until we get something really, really established, there needs to be like an after school program or a weekend program or summer.
All of this stuff got to go back to being community based. Right. So the function of government, now remember, what was our national debt will be the national debit. These is going to give resources to 9 areas of people activity, including health, as number 10. And it will be able to afford us to resources to create community rites of passage programs in the place of schools. School is hell.
Yeah.
Literally. School comes from the Yiddish word shul, which is the European pronunciation of the Semitic word Sheol. And Sheol translates into English as hell, aka the dismal abyss. It's telling you that they was mind fucking us then. Right? Got us in Pavlovian response Skinner boxes.
Yeah, we are the dog, that responds, that salivates for the things that they bring for. Like, well, yeah.
Right.
I mean,
so we used to be the type of people that if our car broke down, we didn't go to no mechanic. We fixed it ourselves. We knew how to build that stuff from the ground up. We didn't have to go get nan off no lot. But now we in what we call the disposable generation. Everything is disposable. Disposable lighters, disposable silverware, disposable plates. Everything is disposable. When we came from a recycling community, we automatically and naturally recycle. You can even see it now play out as you buy the butter and you keep the bowl because it's useful. Right? It's the same thing. We used to reuse and recycle things. Fix what's broke. We didn't just throw it away because it was broke. We fixed it. Right? And we had somebody that fixed everything in the community. You had Uncle Willie down there. He the lawnmower man. Small engine repair. Mr. Jackson over there, he the vacuum cleaner repair man. Billy Ray and them back in the alley, they the mechanics. They fix all the cars.
Yeah.
Right. This cultural, this is why they start changing the structure in the automobiles to phase out the natural part of our community of taking care of repairing and keeping our money in our community. Now you got to take your car to the dealer to get proper service because the average alley mechanic don't have the hundreds of $1,000s equipment to run the diagnostics that you need at the dealer. So they try to phase him out.
Yeah. It's everything I think is designed to drain us of something, to distract us from probably focusing on whatever our focus or purpose was to when we incarnated. Everybody incarnates for a reason, to fulfill some purpose or to correct something that maybe, from a different, a past life needs to be addressed in this life in order to, like you said, move up a little higher, ascend to a higher level. But there's so many distractions that are put in our way. Like I said, I mean, right now, to me, I see the whole Diddy thing for instance, as a distraction, at least for our people. You know what I mean? So there's so many things that we could be doing. But then on the other hand, I'm watching for signs of, yes, something is going on because of that so-called thing with him. Okay, somebody that's been protected or singing for a long time, and now you're seeing all of a sudden everybody sort of looking side-eyed now. The recent exits of people like Henry K. and Sandra Day O'Connor, those things were like, woo, for me, signals. Because I kept saying,
Henry Kissinger got executed.
well, allegedly he just left.
I know that's the cover story.
But the fact that it's coming out that he's gone, because I kept saying, why is he still here? And he lived to be 100.
He was part of a group of billionaires called the Lazarus Group in a quest to find eternal youth.
I thought something was going on because he was here awful long time.
Well, he been running politics in America. He was the guy at the front door that you got to answer to when you're going into the realms of politics in America for over 50 years.
I heard that he was the ring that you kissed.
Yeah,
his was the ring you kissed, even if you were going big into the Oval place.
Yeah, he was put in place by the black nobility in the military-industrial complex.
Mm-hmm.
They financed him behind the scenes. Because somebody got to be the guy to screen everybody.
Yeah,
There's not a president you've seen in the last 45 years that got a picture shaking hands with Kissinger.
I know. Yeah, I know. And I was told that he was maybe more powerful than those individuals.
The only person that had more power was George Herbert Walker Bush.
Yeah, he was.
See, a lot of people don't know. If you read about it in Behold a Pale Horse, but he declared himself King George I of the United States of America, which was they planned to take over America. Remember, he from Skull and Bones, them the pirates.
Mm-hmm.
And he was in charge of Central Intelligence, which gave us the KGB and it gave us the Mossad. The CIA is also the model that British used to create MI5 and MI6.
Yeah.
So the American Central Intelligence Agency, as the secret hand of the government, has been duplicated in almost every government around the world. Right? And over here, George Herbert Walker Bush, when they did the North American Free Trade Agreement, that was him asserting his kingship on both Canada and Mexico. And next he was moving to assert his kingship in South America. But people like Hugo Chavez got in the way of his DEA agency and his Central Intelligence Program. This is why you had your Iran-Contra, right? When they was doing the guns for drugs to flood the community in order to prevent people like Larry Hoover or Jeff Ford from being able to stop it from coming to the streets. The government was bringing it in. That was also one of the sub portions of COINTELPRO as a weapon to keep the originals from waking up. And this is the poisoning program, as seen in the Tuskegee experiment. Now we're using contagion aberration, passing on the toxic ideas. pushing agendas that's counterproductive to the raising of the matriarchy and establish of any civilized and functional society. You devolving instead of evolving.
Yeah.
Somebody got to step in to get us back on the right track.
It is it's daunting, but it's not impossible. And I back to our previous conversation with manifestation. If we begin to have a single mind, become single-minded, in which means we've decided on what it is we need to achieve and start focusing intently on that, and disregarding the distractions that have come to to do just that. I think we could do. I know we can do what it is we need to do. And like I said, when you see the top players begin to topple off of their seats of authority and popularity, I think that's a signal of the changing, if so to speak, of the guard. It's almost like, okay, now it's time to make the move, because we can see the chinks in the armor. We can see the links that are broken, if so to speak, and need to seize upon that opportunity. But we have to be unified, and so they've done a real good job of having us so fractured and fragmented, that we don't trust ourselves, we don't trust each other. Everybody's side-eyeing somebody else, instead of saying, okay, let's join hands and let's you got a shovel in one hand and if you will, a weapon, if you will, in the other, but we'll get it done.
Well, the unity, the understanding of who you are and standing in your power, right? That's like when you get done doing what you got to do to set up what you need in order for you to feel free internally, right? And it's going to show itself in your feng shui, right? And that's going to be your external expression to your internal state. Now you have to be your own self guardian by appointing people to buffer you from certain information or overwhelming pull on your energy.
Absolutely.
That way you won't never get cloudy in your process. You can see clear what you're doing, because now your resources is being managed in a way that allows your flow to activate. This is what the whole feng shui is about.
And it's a trust factor too on my part, because if somebody, all your life, if you used to doing everything yourself because how you want it done, even if it take you a long time to get it done, to be able to hand off, but that lets me know, even when we talk about the war or any other group that forms, it can never be about the individual that starts it. Maybe you're just you need to see yourself as a vessel used to create a beginning of something, but you're not it. You know what I mean? And I know it. I'm not it when it comes to House of Awakening Minds. I've been used to put to the public something that came from somewhere else.
You was being used in proper context then.
In that context, that's what I'm saying. When I say used, I don't mean negative.
So right, because people think there's something wrong when you say I've been used, but it means that you was useful. Yeah. Because you was useful in a certain capacity, you allowed yourself to be used to fulfill that function. That's that flow that we talking about, flowing into your place within the community. And your position becomes exalted, not because you're trying to be a big eye and everybody else little U's. It's because you freely giving of the self in gratitude, which keeps your flow energy open, which allows the right people to come at the right time to facilitate you to go to the next level.
And some have done that, some have done that, Cynthia Martin, LaChris, Jordan, oh my God, Francesca L, and the list goes on. But there's some sisters that have undergirded me, and there's some new sisters that we just met when we just had this meeting that are already stepping up to take on. Well, I'll do this. I'll type this up. I'll do that because if you wait for me to do it, it may take a long time. But you're right. You're right. I want to be as effective, and you can't be effective when you're overwhelmed. You know what I mean? So so sometimes if I can't do a show on a Tuesday night now, I don't bellyache about it. It's like I'm not going to do a show. I don't have the energy today to do a show, so I'm not doing a show. You know what I mean? When I do come on, hopefully that's a good broadcast with good information. But if I don't have anything to say that's useful, I'm not going to get on there and just be a blithering idiot just for the sake of clicks and likes. I don't do that. It's too many other things to do in life than just to put yourself in front of people, because you really put yourself on the line. You know what I mean? We know they listen to everything, they see everything. I know, that folks know who I am that I probably don't want to know who I am, but they know, or they think they know. You get it what I'm saying? But why do you do it? Why do you do it? You do why this Grand Chic and myself and others do what we do when you do it because of an internal call and purpose that you have to fulfill. It ain't got nothing to do with you. Because if you had your druthers, I know if I had my, I wouldn't be doing this. I really would not be doing this.
Listen, I hate social media with a passion. Because I hate it so bad, they gave me the assignment of doing the social media campaign to inform our family on social media in order to alter the algorithm to the awareness of who we are.
Yeah. Yeah.
It don't mean I have to like it.
Right.
But because I know what I'm doing and I know what I'm talking about, I read once where our elders left a message of wisdom, and it clearly stated, the ones who know must teach. It's not optional. It's part of the culture. It's part of who we are as a people.
Yeah.
We was tortured into not passing information down to our progeny, and for trying to learn, we was executed, which gave us a disdain for learning. It's not the learning we disdain, it was the punishment that we acquired up on learning. Oh, you a smart nigga now, huh?
Yeah.
You know what they do to smart niggas, don't you? They got a place for all you smart ass niggas. 6 feet deep.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, if we knew our culture, we would have knew the truth about Emmett Till just by looking at the story and the people involved. Majority of us do not know that some Negroes went and drug Emmett Till out of his house.
I heard that.
And so-called handed him over to the paleface. But really what it was stopping a war chief from coming into the awareness of who he was. He wasn't whistling at that woman, he was whistling Dixie, a war cry. And it scared the enemy. They had to get rid of him. If he would have remembered who he was going to tell people to call him Chief Littlehorn. And his instrument would have ended up being either a harmonica or what's that a kazoo. And he would have been a prodigy. But they recognized him before he understood who he was, so they had to get rid of him.
And somebody, well, I'm going to bring Mother Kahai on here because she's like really on the war path right now about somebody and anybody, but somebody in particular, I won't name them, who put out their grandchild's birth, the date and some stuff that she said, you don't do that because
she right, because they use the zodiacs to find out when we coming, and they use the geography to know where we gonna be.
Right. And so a lot of times, so that's why it's so important for them to, to have the time and the, like you said, the geographical location of one's birth, but also, and I saw somebody put it in the chat, they don't even tell you now what your child's blood type is. I don't even know. People are like, I don't know my blood type. Well, I know mine. I think I know what I was told. You know what I mean? I don't know, but people literally where they're not told. They're not told, but it's in the record somewhere. And so
Yeah,
all the
this
old
is still in, but most of us don't have our own health records. Most of our health records rest at the hospital. We don't keep paperwork. We used to have one of Big Mama would have her daughter as a bookkeeper that kept everybody medical records. Now, because that was part of the doula center,
Mhm.
and because some of the girls just love to do paperwork, right? But they wasn't doing contracts. They was doing health records, bookkeeping on health records, keeping track of a person's health so you can best know how to administer the holistic healing processes that's available. How severe or how invasive do you have to be with the cure?
Yeah, took that away and put it into the hands of the
Mm-hmm.
the big people with the big farms. So, but we need to take it back. We need to take back our, our health, our wealth, our knowledge of self, of who we are, and our knowledge of what it took for us to be successful in the past. I'm pretty sure it means coming back together. I just want to say, I want to say thank you, first of all, for agreeing on a really short notice to come, with a couple days notice to come on back on the show, just to have a catch up for those of you who might feel like we were all over the place, because we were all over the place, because we were catching up, right? We didn't tell you that it was going to be about anything in particular. We just said we was going to be catching up. When we was catching up, y'all's listening in on our catch up, right? So hopefully some of you got something from the listen in. I'm always, I can never have a conversation with you, Chief, unless I'm getting a download. And sometimes I'm like, darn, I wish I was taping this, because some of our just on the phone conversations are so heavy. You know what I mean? And because it's just fluid. It's just a conversation that we're having. But
Mm-hmm.
you clearly have a call, from on high, if you will, Big Mama and the ancestors, to come and do what you do. I'm glad that you are fearless, Chief. You're not out there trying to get clicks and likes, but everybody wants to hear what you got to say, and then they say what they got to say about what you said. So I appreciate that you don't give up, like my friend Jerry Miller. He don't give up about, so, and you don't
Well,
either.
one thing is the confidence in knowing what you know.
Yes.
If I stand in the position and tell the truth, I got the receipts.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I that's why I don't like it. Don't ruffle my feathers, because you can argue with the receipts. Go
Yeah.
dispute the receipt. I'm just producing the receipt of what I'm telling you I see. You
Right.
might not even see the receipt the same way I see it, because we not all supposed to see the same thing the same way, or we'd be all doing the same thing, and no progress would ever be made that way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's why you can look about and you can see that the different chiefs talking to their tribes, and those other chiefs in a peer group spreading a message according to how they see it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they be trying to turn us against each other, and the government even use social media personalities to feud to keep us divided.
Absolutely.
I ain't
And
finna get into that.
fake folk, people that's working directly for them for that purpose of doing that. They not doing it as an aside. They doing it as their job. That's their job, to do what they're doing. And so, and I get it. I absolutely get it. And I just think that everyone has to take stock of themselves. I do, because I've had every now and then I've had somebody get on here and say something crazy in the chat with regard to me, call me I forgot. Well, I'm not even going to repeat it. It wasn't a good thing. But you have to know who you are, like regardless of what the naysayers and the trolls have to say about you. So I know who I am. I know the sacrifice that I make, and I can assume the sacrifices that people like yourself make. I'm very close to Grand Sheik, so I know, that he's one of the most giving folks that I wouldn't have been working with him since 2011 if he wasn't a genuine, individual. He's a stand-up guy, and so he has so much giving in his heart that is sometimes you just gotta like make him stop. When we have conversations, and I have to tell, look, stop. Let me tell you, I know you can read my mind, but can I tell you the whole story before you read it? You know what I mean? Let's have a dialogue, because he's so full of knowledge and so forth, but he's genuine. He don't mean any harm, because people are like, he talks over you. Yeah, he talks over everybody because he sees ahead of what he's one of those minds that you're in the middle, you're at the beginning of your story and he already got to the end of it. You know what I mean? So he's like, let me save you the time and let me just give you the answer. But we dialogue like that because he's a real genuine, and people get upset sometimes because they can't get to him. If he talked to everybody that wanted to talk to him, that's all he would do would be talking. And when they do see him in person, he gives people all the time he can, and people are standing in line waiting. But he's talking to this one for the last 15 minutes because he cares, But there's a difference between caring and realizing, and caring and carrying burdens of folks, and that's what I'm trying to get off of me and off him. You see me?
So it's a form of psychic self-defense to learn how to receive and release.
Yeah.
And the release part is what we was not taught. We don't know life's supposed to get hard, but the hard part is the test. Right? If we told that at an earlier age, we'll already understand when we get to the hard part. Oh, I'm going through a life test. Right? Everything on the test was in the practice. But everything in the practice is not on the test. The reason it's the hard part, because the hardest parts that you went through in the practice, it went by with a breeze because they were separated by other parts. But now that they all condensed together, it's to see if you assimilated the part that you was practicing in order to know how to make it through the hard part. Every time you go through a hard part, you move up a level in life. Right? And the harder you have it, the higher you got to be going, because the strongest ones got to take the most punishment because they going to climb the highest heights. So they got to be the strongest ones first.
Wow.
Right? So by understanding that about the self and your responsibility to yourself, it automatically gives you a psychic defense against things that you would be concerned about what another motherfucker think. No, I don't care.
Yeah, you can't be concerned. You cannot be concerned. I mean, I used to take everything personally, Brad. Chief, I used to take, my heart used to hurt. Like, they said something about Grand Sheik, or they said something about me. And then I used to go battling with folks on the thing. And I was like, you know what? It takes more energy. It takes less energy to click block and not even say a word. They get the message, right? And I don't have to deal with it. You know what I mean? But we do this because we have an assignment. We do this, but I do it because this is my assignment. I heard a voice tell me, you must reawaken minds. And that's why I do. I didn't know I was going to how to do it. I just know what I heard said that I had to do. I'm facilitating the reawakening minds. I'm not always doing the awakening, but I'm, just having this platform to be able to bring people like yourself on, folks like yourself to bring this light and enlightenment.
If we can make one person have a better life, we did more than we could have hoped for. Because when you change one person, you change thousands.
Right.
Right. So if we could just reach one, we reach some. And we've done a great service to the forward progress. When we understand that we aren't supposed to always agree on stuff, that changes all of the divisiveness right there, because we're not supposed to see everything the same. Now, what we can do is what you call resolve the differences in perception. Even if you don't agree, you could see what I'm looking at by me explaining to you what I see.
True. True.
And then you can say, oh, now I understand. Makes sense. I still don't agree, but now I know what you're talking about. But we're not always supposed to agree. And that's the first part of negotiations of any form of peace and benevolence on the planet Earth among humans is to understand we're not always supposed to agree on everything.
Yeah. That's true. Listen, this has been great. But before we go, I want to shout out to a dear sister who's in the chat. I think she's still in there. Sister Latonya Taylor. When you talk about sisters doing, she's the Rev coach that does Rebirth 360 for the sisters. She's been doing this for a while. Worked very closely as a producer on with Dr. Ayala Vincent, and she's a producer herself and so forth, and doing a great work. And she's in the ATL area. But Rebirth 360 is something that she's been doing, and I don't know if she's named it something else, but she's working with sisters all over. So that's any place where we're empowering, empowering sisters. And I appreciate her. We have been talking for a couple of years and became friends, and we didn't meet in person until I actually went to the ATL, and she showed me a wonderful time on my day. I think the day before I left, she gave me a spa day, which was absolutely fantastic, and I have much love for that sister. But like I said, check out Sister Latonya Taylor and Rebirth 360 and everything else that she's doing with the sisters. She's they call her the Rev coach. So I just
Is it doula?
well, not that she's a doula, but she does a lot of things with healing the divine feminine. And
Yeah. So once this is all turned around, they're gonna be having a doula registry where sisters all over the land can get a doula, because we're trying to get away from these brainwashing births that erase your memory when you come out.
Yeah. What's that thing they used on the Men in Black type thing?
The flasher.
Bright light, mind eraser. So those babies are
So
supposed to
yeah, they discovered a long time ago that bright light when you coming into birth will shock the optic nerve and knock all of your past life memories out until you like 7 or 8 years old before they start coming back. So by then they will have conditioned you to believe what they want you to, so that when you remembering that, you will either think that you're going crazy or it's just a dream. It don't mean nothing.
That's true.
But they got volumes and volumes and volumes of books dedicated to telling people what dreams mean. But they don't mean that.
Yeah, I know. I know. And like I said, I was looking right here. I see a book in front of me by David Wilcox called Awakening in the Dream. And that's the thing that you need to do. Awake in this dream state. You got to wake up. You know what I mean? Because as long as they can keep you dreaming, they keep you confused. But this has been awesome. This has been absolutely awesome, y'all. And I thank you all. And I heard my sister, she put something in there. Yeah, please don't put anything in the chat that's gonna get be like give us like they even look at the things, the comments that people write sometimes, and they want to mess with you for that. So let's be respectful in the chat, and what we say and about who we say what we say about. I mean, truth is truth, but we know truth isn't popular with the so-called establishment. I want to thank
you. Know what? I don't care what they think, Dr. G. I'm gonna tell them what's on my mind. Fuck them.
I know you are. Yeah. I know that. She said, "Can you put Latanya's info in the chat?" I think she did put it in there. I see it under there. She put I think she put her information in the chat. If you look for Latanya, she did put it in there. She put it in there. Yeah. The people connect. She my sister. Yeah. we you know, I'm gonna let you go.
Thanks for
Somebody
having me, Dr. G. I appreciate it.
always. Hey, somebody told me to take some what is it? Some chokeberry. I have you know how you get a tickle in your throat. I was like, I'm getting ready to choke. I can hear my voice cracking, so I was like trying to get a cough drop or something just so I wouldn't choke. I put it on mute and everything because I was literally choking. I was joking, but this has been good. Uh, the herbal goddess says, Brother Rod, I still want to talk to you.
Inbox me on IG.
Yeah, you hear that? Inbox him on Instagram. What's your Instagram?
The Sick Ape.
Oh, like okay, so it's the SIKAPE like it is on his Cash App. See the Cash App?
Mm-hmm.
Cash.
Except
So
instead of the $sign, it's THE in front of it.
THE. And what does Sick Ape stand for so they'll know?
Soldiers in Illuminati are present everywhere.
Okay. Yeah. So he's not a sick ape. He's not saying that. Soldiers in Illuminati are present everywhere. So that's what that stands for. So please keep it coming. Yep, we're gonna come with some more truth. Like I said, I'm gonna try to get some folk up on in here, and I don't know, in the next 3 weeks, I'm gonna try to do every Tuesday that I can. But if I don't have anything to say, I'm not gonna come on, y'all. So just if you don't see me, this means I didn't have anything to bring you. But I tell you, if you're out there and you want to come on office hours with Dr. G, maybe this is where you get discovered. Some of y'all sitting out there with all this talent and ability and insight and light and all that stuff. Come on. Everything doesn't have to be about more science, even though, as Grand Sheik says, everything is more science, he tells me. But you might be doing something else that is of interest, and we can certainly talk about it here on office hours with Dr. G. So again, I love you. Thank you so much for supporting the request that we put out for your support. I really, 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 really appreciate those of you who said, yeah, we'll help you keep the channel. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. So thank you for the new sustaining members and the ones that gave above and beyond the 9 notes we were asking for. We appreciate that. I appreciate it. So I just wanted to put that up there, and also wanted to remind you all to save the date, April 27th, 28th, and 29th. I think that's right. Spring into Action Conference. We're really going to try to do it up big this time. And when I say big, I mean in that getting the production of it better, and even having, for those of you, in the past, people couldn't, if they can't attend, Rod, they like, did you videotape it? Like I was videotaping in Atlanta and I forgot to push the record button. So we need people that know what they're doing. So I kept seeing myself and Mama Callie on the thing the whole time, and but it wasn't the button, the record button wasn't pressed. Mm-hmm. So it didn't get recorded, but some are in the chat that were there. We laughed about it to the point I had to say, you just had to be there. But the next things that we do, we want to at least make it available for folks that aren't able to attend. We want a quality video and different stuff so that folks can get the same benefit of that knowledge. So again, thank you very much. And I'm gonna let y'all go. How's that? Thanks again, Chief. Appreciate you.
Thank you, Dr. G.
Appreciate it.
Dr. G. Really? Who's she?
Yeah, that's me.
Dr. G. she?
Yeah, that's me.
Dr. G. Really? Who's 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 she?
Yeah, that's me.